Hi guys, so I got a nice little prezi in the mail today. This bad boy arrived. Yes, Superman the movie, the extended cut. Over 3 hours of Superman greatness right here in my hot little hands. So Superman the movie was released in 1978, directed by Richard Donner, starring Christopher Reeve, Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, Margot Kidder, Mark McClure, Jackie Gleason, Valerie Perrine, almost said Otis, Ned Beatty, Glenn Ford as Pa Kent, and Phyllis Thaxter as Ma Kent. Now, this was one of the iconic movies of my lifetime. I saw Superman the movie when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I actually saw Superman 2 first. We just got our new Betamax video recorder at home. Mum and Dad bought that for us and we thought that was pretty cool. And our neighbour had a bootleg copy of Superman 2 for us to borrow. So we thought this is really great. We've got movies that we can watch at home on this really popular Betamax format. This is going to be fantastic. I'm a young kid. I hadn't really read a lot of Superman comics at this point, but I was kind of like, I'll have a look. I'm not really too fast on action movies and all that kind of stuff. I'm just a kid. So I put Superman 2 on and it changed my life forever. I fell in love with 1, movies, and 2, Superman. This was unbelievable. This guy he's in a really cool suit. He had powers. He could fly. He was really strong. His Clark Kent guys was funny. This Christopher Reeve guy is amazing. It wasn't for a little while after that. I can't remember how long it took, but it took me a while to see the actual Superman the movie next. And when I did, it was just love. It's been a love affair with this movie ever since. Christopher Reeve, for me, is just the epitome of perfect casting. This guy he is Superman. He is Clark Kent. He's just magical in the role, and what he brings to it is just absolutely an iconic performance, and everyone who sees him in this role has a hard time seeing anybody else in the role of Superman. Sorry, Henry Cavill, but for a whole generation, Christopher Reeve was our guy. He was our Superman. Not knocking Henry Cavill. He's his own thing. I do enjoy him. Just getting that out of the way before anybody comes knocking. So the tagline, "You'll believe a man can fly," absolutely true. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this movie in my lifetime. I'm very familiar with the material. I never got to see it at the theatre, which really sucks. Superman movies I saw at the movies was Superman 3 and Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Then obviously Superman Returns, and then Man of Steel and so forth. So having been able to see this on the big screen would have been amazing. But alas, I started my Superman journey on Betamax and then VHS when we cottoned onto that. Then I had my DVD copy and the Blu-ray eventually came out. Then I bought a really nifty box set. This is a really cool. Yeah, this is amazing. It's got all the movies in there. Love. But it has been a long time since I've seen this one. Very cool. I have the tat. So all my friends and family will know. They will tell you that I'm a Superman fan. Big fan. Been reading the comics ever since I saw the movies, and I was able to read ever since I saw the movies and discovered that Superman was a comic book. Bang, I'm all over it. So I read comics a lot growing up. My dad hated that. He didn't want me to believe in a stupid superhero story and go jumping off the garage roof and try and kill myself, live in reality. But reading comics from such an early age, hey man, I'm reading, I'm doing some educational stuff. I'm learning words. I'm a solitude, dude. Thank you, Richard Donner. So the story begins the movie begins on Krypton. Why does Marlon Brando keep saying Krypton? Krypton! It's Krypton, man! So Marlon Brando's on Krypton and he's got General Zod, Non, and Ursula ready to be transported to the Phantom Zone because they're criminals. The council's just going to start pounding some heads and getting those guys chuffed off until part 2. And then he's trying to convince the council that Krypton is going to die. And Krypton is dwarfed by this massive red sun. And Krypton actually looks like it's an ice planet of some sort. So that makes sense. If there is a red sun that the planet is orbiting around, it's actually not as hot. I'm not going to get a little bit weird here. But it's going to be cooler. So the planet you'd be living on would be colder, would be an ice planet. So that's why Krypton looks like hot. Am I fanboying? I don't care. Crystals, ice, Krypton. So Krypton explodes. Not before he gets young Kal-El into his little starship with the stars, spikes and stuff, and he gets sent up to Earth. Lands in Smallville. Ma and Pa Kent promptly find him, decide to adopt baby Kal and raise him as their own. Clark Kent is born. Then we kind of move along to Smallville, his teenage years, and he's cleaning up after the football team. He's flirting with Lana and racing the car home and jumping in front of trains. And would you know it, poor Pa Kent is suddenly dropping dead from a heart attack on the driveway to the farmhouse. And quite sad. All these powers, all these things I can do, and I couldn't even save him. Funeral scene, burying Pa Kent. A few more years have passed. Clark discovers the crystal in the shed, which has been buried in his spaceship by his parents. It's calling out to him. It's time for him to move on. Time to go and discover his true destiny. Says goodbye to Ma Kent, and then he takes off to the North Pole. Long walk. I don't know why he would wear a fully warm, fleecy jacket top, because he's Superman, right? He doesn't really feel cold. Throws the crystal. Fortress of Solitude is that is pretty close. The Fortress of Solitude is built on the North Pole. He goes inside and then spends the next 12 years conversing with his long-dead father, who is educating him on the ways of everything. I don't understand fully because he's stuck in this montage of black space and exploding stars and weird psychedelic colours floating around, and then Jor-El states that it's time for you to return to your state of your world, and then hey man, I love it. This is part of my formative childhood. Don't knock. He has the Superman suit on, flies towards camera very slowly, and bang, Metropolis. We're introduced to Clark Kent in the Daily Planet, Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, and Chief Perry White. So after Clark Kent establishes that he wants his pay, half of his pay, delivered to his silver-haired mother in Smallville, he starts building up a rapport and crushing on Lois Lane. Saves her from a mugger, from getting shot after she kicks the dude in the face. Lois Lane decides that she's going to go and interview the president from Air Force One, gets into a helicopter gets tangled in some cables, falls off the top of a building. Superman, in one of the most iconic Superman reveals ever. Say, Jim, nice outfit. Superman's up, saving the helicopter and Lois Lane. You've got me, who's got you? There's so many lines. He's just a friend. Lex Luthor was wanting to real estate, so he organises to send some nuclear bombs up into the stratosphere and to come back down, hit the San Andreas fault, and cause a massive earthquake, thus buying all the real estate surrounding areas. He's buying on the cheap. Of course, there's going to be seashore property when the fault destroys all of California, and he's going to be super rich. But Superman can't have that. But first, Superman's got a date with a kryptonite necklace Lex Luthor puts on him and throws him into a pool. His Teschmacher has to jump in and save him because the other rocker is going to go and kill her mom in someplace. Superman saves the day. There is much destruction. There's earthquakes. There's kids in school buses in peril on a bridge. There's dams bursting. Hollywood signs falling over. There's all sorts of nasty things happening. But Superman is flying around deep into the earth, lifting the mantle and the crust back up so that the earthquake refuels itself. Hollywood sign just comes back up again, and he's flying around saving the kids on the bus, causing landslides to stop all the massive flooding from the dam that's busting. Lois Lane, unfortunately, is in her car. She gets sucked into a crevice and is crushed to death. Superman sees this total moment of anguish, flies up into the sky, revolves around the earth backwards really fast. See, don't know if he's actually reversing time here or traveling back in time himself. It's kind of odd. I admit, this movie's not without flaws. Suspension of disbelief, kids. That's what you need with guys in blue suits and red capes. Just saying. Comes back down. Lois is now alive. Jimmy's pissed because he got dropped on the side of the road with snakes and stuff. Superman goes, gets Lex Luthor, drops him off in prison. Luthor rips off his hairpiece, which he's been wearing through the whole movie because Gene Hackman just refused to shave his head. Bald cap is on. We're on the same team. The end. This was 3 hours, and it didn't feel like 3 hours at all. It went so quick, and because I'm so familiar with the material, I couldn't really pick the new added scenes because I'm so used to it. I have watched this movie so many times from the Betamax and the VHS recordings we had from the TV when it was aired on TV back in the day. It was a 2-night epic two-parter. So all these scenes which are on this new release, they're in my head already. So I'm not really... I've seen the special edition, which is also in here, fantastic, and on that super groovy blue box set I showed you earlier. I've only seen that a few times, and I did notice that, there's some things missing, but having seen this copy now has brought all these other memories back. And for the life of me, I can't recall what was omitted and what isn't. Save for one scene where Jimmy Olsen's just been rescued by Superman off the dam, and in the special edition, Superman grabs Jimmy Olsen and just plops him down and takes off. In the extended cut, he gets Jimmy, he actually takes him and hovers above the destruction for a little while and gives him the opportunity, go ahead, shoot, take some photos. Unbeknownst to Jimmy, he didn't have any film in his camera the whole goddamn time. So just little things like that, they're in there. So I had a marvellous time revisiting my childhood this afternoon, checking out Superman, the extended cut, and Terrence Stamp's in this. Did I say Terrence Stamp? I should have said Terrence Stamp. He's in this. He's Zod. Big news in part 2, man. Look out. Coca-Cola sign just had it coming. It's really a product of its time. It's 1978, so it's nearly 40 years old. It's dated. The special effects are somewhat corny, but this movie is just dripping in magical charm. What Richard Donner has done has taken the story of Superman, this character of Superman, and treated it with respect. And Christopher Reeve just made this role his. He embodied Clark Kent, making him a klutzy but lovable fool, and Superman, this stoic, this stand-up guy who was just truth, justice, in the American way. Truth, justice, and the world way, dude. For me, it's just when Christopher Reeve passed, I was actually so devastated. I watched Superman not long after hearing that he had died, and I wept. The scene at the end when Superman's actually flying over the earth towards camera and just smiling at it, and then the credits roll, man, choked me up real bad. Because this guy's been part of my life since I was a kid. He babysitted me so many times with this movie. Honestly, one of my all-time favourites. Nothing but love for this movie. Superman 2, the Donner cut, is an interesting experiment. I still think what Richard Lester did was okay. A lot of behind-the-scenes dramas with that one, with Richard Donner having filmed 80% of the movie, and then Richard Lester taking over after the Sal Kynes kindly fired Richard Donner. Superman 3, Superman versus Richard Pryor. It's better than Quest for Peace. And then there was Superman Returns, which was Bryan Singer's love letter to the Donner Superman. Brandon Routh did fine in the role, but that movie, this criticism was that it wasn't enough of action in this one, and then Man of Steel came out and I was criticised because there was too much action. So, but anyway, Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner, Margot Kidder, Gene Hackman, Marlon Brando, Ned Beatty, Valerie Perrine, Terrence Stamp, Mark McClure, Jackie Gleason, everyone involved. Thank you so much for making my love of movies something real, and I will forever cherish Superman the movie. And yeah, if you've not seen it, do yourself a favour and whack it on. It's like these movies made in the 70s, and being a 3-hour cut, it's not action-packed. It's long and it's slow and it's drawn out, but it's all about character development, story development, plot, and setting up a grand epic tale, and that's what this is. Superman the movie is an epic story of one of the greatest superheroes of our time, Superman. And damn it, if you can't get on board, then just go to hell. I love it. Curse you. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for checking out my channel. Please feel free to throw me a like or subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you next time. And the establishing shot of the Daily Planet was done here. Bum, bum, bum.